My name is Eric Parks. I'm here to talk about chocolate making in the Somerville Chocolate CSA. And I'll jump right into, I fell into it in Costa Rica about 3 years ago. Before that, I didn't know a civilian could make chocolate without a small factory. And as part of an add-on tour for a trip to a rainforest lodge, we got a tour of a chocolate plantation. And whereas I thought you couldn't do this kind of stuff before, I saw that they're in the middle of the jungle with no electricity and rustic environment. They were able to show you the entire process from start to finish, of harvesting and producing. Don't let that happen to you. So after watching that, I got back to the US and immediately hit the internet and found that there's actually a small, dedicated group of chocolate makers in the country. There's even a company that specializes in outfitting them and stuff they need with cacao and things like that. So I tinkered around with that for about, I want to say about a month or about a year or so. And at some point I decided I needed to expand the operation, find more people to eat it so I didn't have to do it all myself, and go into it. Now I'm going to go into just the process a little bit here, and I'll get back to the CSA that I started. The first thing you do with the cacao is you roast it. You can do it any one of these devices here, typically your home oven will do. I use a commercial convection oven. You need to break it up with a cracker so you can create nibs with it, and you separate the husk from the bean. And then you can use it, two most popular ways to do that for homemakers. Winnowing is probably the biggest challenge because there's not much out there to do it, so most of it is a do-it-yourself kind of thing, but the basic idea is that you're sucking the husk away from the bean so that you're left with just the cacao nibs, which then get put right into your wet grinder, which is a modified Indian wet grinder, sort of the melanger. You put your nibs in there with your sugar and any other additives you might want to put in, extra cocoa butter sometimes, and you get it going for half a day up to a couple of days. And just grinding your stuff down into what's basically a cocoa liquor, which is melted chocolate bar at this stage. And it's also conching, which is the process of driving away some of the volatile elements that you don't want in your chocolate, or it affects the flavor. You temper it with, I have a high-tech tempering device here, which is really just the process of controlling which crystals form in your cocoa butter as it cools. And then you have to mold it, which is an upcoming slide here. Pretty quickly realize that polycarbonate molds are the way to go because they're better. You wrap it up and package it and away you go. Now back to the CSA, it's not technically a CSA because I'm not growing cacao in my front yard, but it functions kind of like one. So I sell shares in chocolate making season in their harvests periodically of multiple bars. People get the call to come and pick them up. And it works like that. I think one of the great things about it in this particular case is it's given me an opportunity to present people with multiple bar harvests that showcase certain aspects of chocolate making. This is something you can't really get into when you go out and buy chocolate in a grocery store because each manufacturer has their own proprietary formula of origin and roast and all that. I can tweak things. The slides at this point are just kind of art shots. There's not much visual in chocolate bars. But for example, go down the first harvest here as I run down the clock. The couple bars would just focus on varying the roast. Everything else about the formulation was the same. Same origin, same cacao content. I also did things where we tweak the cocoa butter content because cocoa butter is added by a lot of people. It changes the overall character of the chocolate. Isolate that, we isolated refinement times. I called it my ode to Tassa, where we start off with 6 different bars ranging from completely gritty to very refined, and you can see how that affects the consistency and the overall flavor when you over-conch stuff. Played around with smoking chocolate, roasting in wood ovens, as one of the earlier slides showed. Varying sugar types, using date sugar, maple sugar. In most of these cases, it's really using the same kind of thing, but just varying one of these things. Occasionally you get a free-for-all where we do inclusions and other kind of crazy stuff like that. Season 2 is going to be more of the same, but there are a lot of other things you can do with aging chocolate. You can look at all kinds of blends, exploring the different range from forasteros to trinitary, you know, the various types of cacao bean that range in intensity. That's my time.